Tell me when you're ready. Okay. We are just back from an executive session of the municipal authority to discuss litigation matters. And now I will take a roll call. Maria Kane here, Tom Greco,
Yeah.
Walter Virginis,
Here.
Tim Kelly,
Here.
Stephen Mackel. I think we have Steve Mackel on Zoom, but maybe not here yet.
He's not online yet.
Okay, well, we will get him online and make sure we let the record reflect that when that happens. But in the meantime, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Did we proceed? Is he on?
He's not, but I think that you should proceed based on the time.
Okay. Right, we can also let the record reflect that we have our solicitor, Mike Madron here, Dave Porter, our engineer, and Steve Nease, operations manager, as well as
He's on.
Caitlin Sullivan.
I would make note for your record, I'm sorry, I cut you off, but Steve has joined.
Oh,
Okay.
Steve. And Steve Mackel, can I have a here? Right, Steve, are you here? Steve, can you hear me? Steve, are you on mute?
I can now, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Steve, we're letting the record reflect that you are here and it, okay.
Thank you.
And Caitlin Sullivan, our Director of Operations. And I don't think we've formally introduced you the last meeting or two, but Caitlin's been doing a great job. And I just want to say from the board and publicly that, we welcome you and really appreciate having a dedicated Director of Operations. I think it's been an amazing contribution to the municipal authority.
Memorize it as a test.
So, okay. All right. Moving forward. Has everybody had a chance to review the agenda that was provided? All right. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
All right, from Walter, thank you. Do I hear a
Second.
second from Steve? Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, at this time, we'll take public comment for agenda items or actually, we only have two members of the public here tonight. Would you like to take this opportunity to make a public comment or any comment?
Yes.
Might be a good time for it. And just introduce yourself and give us your name and your address and let us know why you're here.
And so I'm going to ask that you go to the podium, please, and make sure the mic has the button and it's turned green. Can you just push on the button and
Sure. Oh, now it's great.
perfect, thank you. That way the people at home can hear us.
Okay, no problem. Thank you for indulging us and listening to our public comment right now, this portion of the meeting. My name is Vicky Kushto. I am an attorney and I represent Ellis Newtown Walk at Ellis Preserve. I can give you my address, but it's at another location in Delaware
Could you
County.
say who your client is again?
Sure, it's Newtown Walk at Ellis Preserve, specifically the stacked townhouse units that are within that community, because there are a couple different housing kinds.
Okay, and they have a separate HOA? or-
Yes.
Okay, I
Yes.
wasn't aware of that. Thank you.
Yes,
Okay.
and Rob Fullerton is here with me today. He's a member of our board, just in case there's any questions that I can't answer.
Okay.
I also have some packets for you, but I guess I'll give a quick speech and then I will leave them with you. Because we're not expecting you to provide us completely with an answer this evening. We just wanted to introduce our question and our problem to you and see if it's maybe something that you could help us along with. So I'm not sure whether or not you are familiar with this, but when the community first came online, it's been a number of years, but there is a large outstanding sewer bill that is owed to this authority for our community. It happened from a water leak that was discovered in September of 2001,
Right.
which was when the community was still being built at that time. And there were millions and millions and gallons of water that were lost into the soil at that point. I think one of the estimates that you'll see in this packet was as much as 17 million gallons that were lost. And as you know,
I think if you mention the name of the builder, that's what's gonna trigger.
oh, sure, Rockwell.
Yeah, and I don't want to cut you off because I think this is great that you're trying to bring this to a head. And, you know, my, recollection of this is that we did do the board did do a significant amount of work when this was first brought to our attention, in order to determine whether or not Aqua had given a credit, that equated with the type of credit that that the HOA was looking for, at the time. And
It was
that's
the
the
builder.
builder. Yeah, that's right. Rockwell came
Yes.
before us and they were looking for that, and they could not provide us with any documentation that Aqua had given. They showed us that a bill was redone, but they never demonstrated that Aqua would give them a credit, you know, a gallon for gallon credit, if you will.
And
So-
you are absolutely 100% correct.
Right.
Aqua did give them a reduction in their bill, but it was never really tied to anything. And there is some of that in this packet that you're gonna get as well.
And and again, I don't want to, you know, not give you an opportunity to go through everything, but I think we've already resolved this. So I think, I don't know, my recommend,
The issue is that it hasn't been resolved vis-a-vis the HOA because they just got another bill for $200,000.
right,
Yes, so just to be sure, I'll speed up even
Okay.
faster.
yeah,
The actual request that we're here for this evening is not to even try to continue to work this out. You're correct in that I looked at the minutes and I saw that this was before you a number of months back
Yeah.
when this all happened. But as Mr. Madron pointed out, at this point, we as the association are still getting bills. And at the end of last year, there was actually a lien that was filed against one of our units by Portnoy. That we were able to get removed though, because Portnoy recognized that that many gallons couldn't be attributed to one single unit. So in actuality, what we're here to ask you to consider this evening is whether or not you will divorce us, so to say, from that old claim. And give us a new account number and let us start fresh and continue to pursue your collection matters against the developer who is the one that is responsible for this bill. You're gonna see in what I'm gonna give you that there is actually an email in writing from the developer that recognizes that they are the ones who are responsible for this
and
bill.
I do recall reading a lot of those emails, a lot of the communications from Rockwell. So I think you're absolutely right to be asking for something like this, and I welcome the opportunity to look through everything that you've given us, and then we'll get something, hopefully on the agenda by next month, hopefully, get this.
That would be fantastic. You
Okay.
guys sort of have the power when it comes to Rockwell. I saw on your agenda that you have something tonight that you may be considering approving a driveway that was part of their construction.
It's not Rob.
It's not, okay. Well, unfortunately, if they still owe you anything, make them pay up before you take it. And
Exactly.
if they ever want to do anything with the authority again, make them pay up before you let them connect. But certainly, we think that you have the power, and we're just asking if you'll let us have a clean start and allow you to continue to chase the person who really is responsible for paying this, so that we don't continue to get those bills. Because we actually don't even own any real estate. There is no open space within our development that you could even lien if you wanted to at this point. So keeping it in our name doesn't really push or make anything any more successful for the authority, because we don't have anything that you can come after, really. So that's our request. Thank you for hearing us this evening. I will leave you with this paperwork. You can use it to fall asleep. You can burn it, whatever you would like to do, but it does have some helpful information for you. And again, not expecting any answer just this evening, just hoping that you'll take this under consideration.
Absolutely, we will take it under consideration. No question. We don't want to pursue
Just the packet.
bills that are futile, so.
Yes, Mr. Mackel, we will leave a packet for you with the township manager, in case you'd like to see it as well.
Thank you very much.
Voice carries pretty well. So.
Excellent. Oh, that's okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for all your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you give us 1 second, I'll leave you alone to carry on the meeting.
Oh, we appreciate you coming. All right, everybody's had a chance to, thanks again. A nice night. Everybody's had a chance to review the minutes from the February 25, 2025 meeting. I'll take a motion to approve.
So moves.
Second,
Before we second, I think this is my, do I make a comment after it's been seconded or? Okay, all right, so second from Steve. Thank you, Steve. I thought I had a question on this, oh, God, I should have wrote a note for the minute. There was something on here. Okay, Brenda, why aren't the minutes like right after in our packet?
Right after the agenda.
They're not in my packet. Here's the minutes.
they're on page 10.
Oh, thank you, Steve.
Sure.
That did not make sense. Oh, I know. It was something about the fee increase that I thought should say annual. We're approving, remember we were going to the debt service and the other fee, that was going to 2025. That actual amount. It's supposed to be increase all tap fees. Oh, it's 12.2. Consider approving billing of all customers who are deferred connecting to the system $253 in 2025 for infrastructure and debt service fee. Is that going to be annual or is that just?
Yeah, so, but next year it'll be a different amount.
Okay, so I think we approve that an annual fee will be charged to all those who have deferred connection to the system.
Yes.
So I think it ought to say that the customers, so it should be consider approving billing of all.
Customers who deferred connecting.
Yeah, and this should, if this is the minutes, it should say, no. The board approved billing all customers who have deferred connecting to the system an annual fee, semicolon, for 2025, that fee is $252.26. So that, I don't know, every year if you have to keep, it's just whatever the calculated fee is. We shouldn't have to keep approving this. Or whatever the fee is, the fee is.
You did it.
Sorry about that, folks.
Yeah, so if you're going to amend the minutes that way, that's fine. What we would ask is just both the person that made the motion and the second to agree to the amendment.
I have it as 11.2 on the minutes that I'm seeing.
11.2.
Yeah, motion to approve made by Chair Kane, that would have been me, seconded by
I'm talking
Member
about,
Kelly.
tonight, you're going to amend the minutes to say what you said. So the person who made the motion, which I believe was Tom, was it Tim? I'm sorry. Tim would agree to the amendment,
I
Okay.
agree.
and then if
Yeah.
Steve would agree to the amendment,
Sure.
then I think we can go ahead and vote accordingly.
Yeah, I certainly agree with the amendment.
Yeah, I agree to the amendment.
Okay. So, and I do want it to reflect that it's an annual fee of those charges
Yes,
shall be made to those who have deferred.
Yep.
This year it is this amount.
yep,
Okay, so it doesn't have to be done every single year.
yep.
All right. Okay, so we have a motion, we have it seconded, it's been approved to reflect the change. All those in favor?
All right.
Okay. Okay,
Aye.
that motion passes adopting the minutes. Okay. Next on the agenda, we have, the treasurer's report. Is that going to be presented by?
So I'm going to go ahead and kind of take the lead this time, and then Caitlin has done a good bit of the work on it. And I just wanted to let you know that you actually have two reports, one that was in your packet and was provided you the second report. After reviewing the first report I think is a good report. For some reason, it cut off part of the numbers, and I just wanted to talk through a little bit of the difference between the two. The report that's in your packet that everybody received is actually a collection code report. And the first page of delinquent payers is actually things that we've turned over to Portnoy. Some of those balances may need to be updated because it appears that some of them have continued to not pay. And so we will need to update those, and Caitlin and I will be working on that. The second page of that report through the end, which I think is something like about a 10-page report, those would be people that have not been turned over to Portnoy. And so you can see what that amount is. And again, there's enough in there that at the 90-day level that we need to start taking a look at. And Caitlin and I are going to review all of those and start making a decision whether we need to add a list together for you, hopefully if your April meeting, what we would send over to Portnoy as an update. One of the things that the report that was given to you, that was printed out for you, this report is actually the monthly report, which I think may be something that you've been used to seeing in the past. The benefit of the report that Caitlin ran for you was that it actually shows the ones that have been turned over to Portnoy versus the ones that haven't. And I think that helps when you're looking at seeing how much of the debt rides where. And so half of the outstanding debt that's owed to the municipal authority sits on those that have been turned over to Portnoy.
Would you say the first page of the one in the packet or the first?
Yeah, the first page of the one in the packet that was online.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. The one that you were handed tonight was actually similar to the one that's been handed to you in the past.
Yeah.
So I wanted to give that one so you could see it and compare it. If you look at the total, you have to do more.
But like, I don't see anything on this report that, so the first page of this report says collection.
It says collections.
Okay.
And then the second
Maybe
page,
make that a little bit bold for like
I don't-
collections or whatever. Like, it just looks so much like the other ones. I don't know.
yeah. If you get to the next
Maybe-
page, it actually says none.
Right, I
Yeah,
see
no.
that now, but when when you're scrolling through it,
You
just
probably
kind of-
missed it. Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's the reason why I wanted to bring it to your attention.
I'm glad you did that.
Because
That is good.
And, we'll see what we can do. That report's actually generated out of our system. And so I don't know how much we can change, but I'll work with Caitlin and I'll work with
Just remind us a couple of times
Yeah,
that everybody remembers.
we'll work on that.
You know,
The other
Hey,
thing,
Steve, can I ask a quick question? I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
Is that too loud? I can't tell if my voice is too loud.
we're gonna
Right.
turn you down a little bit on our end, but yes, you continue.
Okay. So on the collection report, there's stuff from 2019, 2021, 22, 23 on the ones that were turned over to Portnoy.
Yes,
Is that, I believe in just a quick look at this now that I understand the collection report, the rest of those pages are 24 and 25 delinquent accounts, which is reasonable. There's some 20s and 22s on there. Now that I see that, but shouldn't anybody that's, let's say, a year or more out, shouldn't they be sent to collection?
yeah,
Well,
we
we
have a
have- yeah.
policy and we are going to try to follow the policy, but yes, we're going to look at it. Now that Caitlin's here, we're going to take a complete look. We'll probably have for you, I did a quick kind of calculation. I think there's probably somewhere between 30 and 60 accounts that we would recommend to you. I think we had decided that anything under a certain value, and I thought it was 500, that we weren't going to send just because of the cost.
Sure.
But I kind of looked at it. I think there's enough over now that we not only would be doing that, but we have some of the ones that have been sent to Portnoy that now have new bills that they haven't paid, and we would want to add that to what they're collecting. So we'll look at adding that to what they're collecting plus the other, and we'll have that for you so that you know what we're doing at the next meeting.
Okay, and then just one other question on the report that Caitlin did.
Yes,
It appears that 43% of the AR, the totals under, over 30 days, 43% of that is over 365 days, $62,708.
yes,
And then over 270 is 12%, 18,000. So 55% of the AR is over 270. So that's quickly leaning into, being a year.
yes. Yep. The challenge on some of those is they're very small. And so we just have to there's a lot of them, so it adds up. But we're going to go back and take a look at all of it and hopefully come back. And some of it when you're looking at the one that she sent this afternoon to you, the one that's printed out for everybody else, please understand, this also includes the people that are already been sent to Portnoy. So some of them may already be numbers that Portnoy has
Oh,
already
I see. You
collected.
didn't pull them out.
We didn't
Okay.
pull them out. So
Okay, that helps.
this is everybody. But if you add up the numbers on the last page of that report, which is page 10, the 40,000, 24,000, the 18,000, and the 62,000, it equals 145,000, just like the other report that she ran for you.
Got it.
The total.
And I guess following up on what Steve is kind of getting at here, because we do have this policy and, it really doesn't make sense sometimes to send it off. But that being said, I mean, there comes a point in time where it may take a little bit of effort on our part as a municipal authority to go ahead and maybe do something ourselves, get another letter out to them, like, hey, we've now escalated this and you're going to send this to a collection agency. You have 30 days to get in touch with us.
We will work on those kind of things as well.
I think there's certain group, and it's been something that we haven't been able to prioritize because we've had so many other issues, but I think that'd be great.
Yeah, I think we can get that set and actually make it something that triggers out of the system.
Yeah.
When they hit a certain amount, or a certain time.
Yeah.
But it's not enough to necessarily go to Portnoy, but it's enough to say, hey, what's going on?
Right.
Where we're not forgetting this. So it's going to be continue to be billed, and you're getting penalized for not.
And it's showing up on their bill every time, right?
It is. It does show up as a past due, and it also shows the penalty that they've been charged for not paying.
That's good. Anybody else have any questions on that? Anything else on the financial?
Not at this point. And I will say Caitlin's done a good job on pulling all that together. She's really getting her hands around it. There's been a lot going on this month. And so Caitlin's been chasing a lot of different things, but that's one of the pieces that she's been working on too.
Okay. Next, is the engineer's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And to reiterate what Steve just mentioned, it was sort of a busy month. And I'll try to be as brief as I can on the update on the engineer's report. First item being, it's an agenda item a little farther down. But last month I reported that the notice of termination for the permit was approved by the Delaware County Conservation District for the Camelot service area. Related to that, the contractor that constructed the driveway seeking final payment of $11,500. I did reach out to the contractor to let them know that it is on the authority's agenda for action, and also let them know that it would be contingent upon them removing silt fence and filter sock, which are some of the erosion and sediment controls related to construction of the driveway.
And sorry to interrupt you on that one, but that is the balance due, right?
That's
I mean,
correct, yes.
A lot of money has already been paid.
Yes,
right?
that's correct. Yes.
Okay, so
It was
we're
about
not
$100,000.
releasing the balance until that's done. Is that
Correct.
the final
Right.
pieces? Okay.
You could vote and have it contingent upon them removing those facilities. And once they get to the site and remove them, we'll verify it, and then the authority can release that payment. But
That's how it's on your agenda.
Yeah, what number is that?
I believe it's number,
number 10.
yeah,
Okay,
number 10.
I'm just,
Yep.
okay, okay, I'm just gonna store that for.
Yep.
Okay,
Related to the sewer project, Steve mentioned we've been out to several of the wetland restoration sites. Presented a quote from Octorara Native Plant Nursery for $1,800 and change for replacement plantings. Since then, in coordination with Steve and Caitlin, we've had our wetland biologist come out to meet with Public Works and go through all of the restoration sites. He's going to amend that cost estimate. The planting costs will be the same, but what he's going to add is itemized cost for deer protection fencing, more substantial than just kind of like the tree tubes or something that's, you know, smaller scale, to keep deer out of the areas of the larger wetland restoration areas. So we'll work with him to get that quote added to the next authority agenda. At that point, you should be in the position that you can pull the trigger on both of those costs. And I believe Public Works has agreed that the level of effort is such that they can handle assisting with getting the plant material delivered to each one of the restoration sites.
is there do we have a cost for that?
So we got that. We're still waiting on information from the wetland biologist. We were out today actually taking a look. Caitlin and George and Dave and myself were out at one point, and then they kept meeting. But that's not been provided to us yet that we can give a number.
Okay.
So the wetland biologist sent an email this afternoon that said that he would be getting us that information before the next meeting. I'm hoping it's early enough before that Public Works has time to just kind of review it and let you know what the cost is.
The other action item that our biologist recommended was, and this is in connection with not only the loss of plant material due to deer browse, but there are several residents that don't understand staying out of the wetland areas as far as maintaining their property. You know, they are either cutting some of the plantings or expanding their lawn area adjacent to water courses. You know, instead of staying off the bank and allowing the riparian to grow back, they're kind of cutting up to the bank. So we think it's a good idea to send out some information pieces related to what's required under the restoration, and to put them on there. There's several property owners that have done some things in the wetlands, like placed mulch and other things that need to be removed. So there'll be basically a form letter to go out to advise anybody that has an easement with a wetland or watercourse restoration, but there will be some specific letters that identify things that need to be addressed by several of the homeowners, to, you know, so that we as the authority don't get in trouble with the DEP
Right.
should somebody come out and
Are
observe.
we
this.
also following
restoration.
up on the inspecting, to make sure, like, we're sending out these letters saying, hey, listen, this is how you have to treat this area. But do we have it on our schedule to go out and look and make sure that that's being followed?
Well, that's kind of what we were doing today.
Okay.
So that's one of the things that we were doing was inspecting to not only meet DEP's requirement for what's died, but also to look at it to say, these folks have done things that make it not meet the requirements. And so now we're gonna have to say, hey, you can't do this. So like, for example, one is put a trail in to the wetlands with mulch being put down. Well, you can't do that. So that's got to come out. And so we've got to go through that with them and put them specifically on notice. There's a couple others
Yeah.
specifically like that where they've encroached into that area, or in some cases completely obliterated it and taken it away and
Well, the
made it
one-
part of
Do
their
we have
yard.
some authority, like an ordinance or something that
We have the
They were-
authority because of what DEP's permit is.
and we have
And
the
then-
easement, right?
And then the township has authority on top of that. So we're going to start with the DEP permit because that's good for another 5 years.
At least another 3
Three.
years, depending on the success of the plantings, but after DEP deems that it is a successful restoration, then it would transition to the township ordinances, and we would enforce floodplain and wetland impacts based on the township's ordinance.
So it's gonna become a regular inspection that we're gonna need to do going forward.
Yeah, and some of the properties, like the one in particular that we started at today, I believe that property owner has since changed. Which they were nice enough to grant us an easement for the pump station, but didn't inform the new property owners that there's certain things that they can't do on the property or within the easement. Now, the easement is recorded against the property, so the easement is there in perpetuity. That's not the issue. It's just a matter of outreach and education. I think that will go a long way to help keep things where they need to be. So with that, I mean, we don't have for the Ashford service area, we're still, and the wetland impact plantings, that quote of $1,800 would satisfy both service areas. We are still waiting word from the DEP on the closeout of that NPDES permit. Haven't heard anything. They were submitted at relatively same time. So I don't know if it's just the conservation district is backlogged. I'm hoping to hear something soon. I don't anticipate having, any other issues with that, since, we submitted and got comments for each service area, addressed the comments and resubmitted, and we got one notice of termination. We just haven't gotten the other one yet. So, I'm suspecting it's just their backlog. On the bioxide system, I'm still coordinating with electrician, the prior pump station contractor, the pump vendor as well. There's some information in my correspondence with the electrical contractor. When they looked at the bioxide vendor's list of items that need to be addressed, they didn't feel there was enough information there to be able to properly quote the remainder of the electrical work. So my suggestion was to have all of those vendors on a call, and I'm trying to set that up. And the one I was waiting for was Almeida and Hudak, and I've heard from Steve Hudak late today that he'll respond to my request in the morning with his availability. So I'll be able to get that set up hopefully in the next couple of days, and we'll be able to bring closure to this matter. So the reason I'm pulling all of them together is what I've gotten feedback wise from the electrical contractor is there are certain things that may need to be done within the pump control panel, which is an item directly from the pump manufacturer, Gorman-Rupp. And they didn't want to go into that panel and move things around that may affect the overall operations of the pump station as a whole. So they wanted to make sure that what needed to be done in the control panel was okay with Gorman-Rupp. And we did get word from the pump representative that he's pretty flexible this week. He just asked that, and we try to coordinate his items up front. So I'm hopeful that that'll allow us to get closure to this matter and get the thing resolved. I did have a lengthy conversation with the gentleman from Evoqua about the cost and what they provided in their quote, and explained again that because he was over the bidding threshold, we needed to get 3 written and telephonic quotes. And I think he understands now why we can't just pull the trigger on what he's quoted the authority for completing all of those items. I think it was like around $14,000 and change. So if it was less than 12,500, we'd be in a position that we could, go ahead and move forward with it. But because it's not, we're in the position where we're looking at Almeida and Hudak trying to take care of some of the items to reduce that cost, electrical trying to take care of some of those items. And then we get to the point where it's less than that threshold, we may be able to pull the trigger and move forward and get that all resolved. So Westchester Pike Sanitary Sewer Project is out to bid. We were previously going to receive bids today at this meeting. We were hopeful to have the last PennDOT highway occupancy permit crossing for the work near Dunwoody. We actually, as I was drafting an update last week, we just got that permit on Friday. And through that review process, we understood that we would have to do some mill and overlay and some striping replacement, which would add some items to the bid. And we were hopeful to have that permit like a week prior so we could add it to the overall bid with an addendum. It just didn't work out timing wise. So we'll put addendum number 2 out and include those items in the bid for contractors to quote on, and we'll have bids received at the 21st meeting. There's been no update from our friends over at Luigi and Giovanni with regard to the fat oil and grease issue in St. Albans. They have provided O&M records again, but we gave them the name of some contractors or consultants they could work with to help them with the evaluation of their system, but still nothing. So I believe the enforcement action is scheduled for district court this Friday on the 4th, and I'll be present with the township solicitor in that regard. No update on Stony Knoll at this point. All the sanitary sewer has been completed. We're not obligated to release anything until we get as-built plans of that system. Ellis Preserve, we're ongoing with capacity consistency certifications in coordination with Newtown Codes Office. The Ellis Pump Station crane, we are scheduled for JMC contractors are scheduled for this Thursday, April 3rd, to address the crane issue. The 3541 Westchester Pike, which is the Blush Salon sanitary sewer lateral matter. They have submitted a public sewer connection permit application. We have reviewed it and issued some comments on that application. I don't believe we've gotten a response to that yet. So as soon as we get a response to those corrections, we'll issue the permit and they can go ahead and make their lateral connection separate from the Fellini bakery. Item 9. 310 Echo Valley Lane, was ongoing coordination with the arborist with regard to dead or dying trees in the vicinity of the sanitary sewer project. 400 Bishop Hollow Road, we conducted site reconnaissance with Caitlin and found that there are several properties along Bishop Hollow Road between Hempstead Lane and Stone Drive, which is kind of near the softball fields. Several properties along there are in fact connected to the sanitary sewer system via grinder pump. And those are related to the Orsado and Turo agreements that were done in the mid 2000s, which have some reimbursement components to them. I provided to the authority staff copies of the agreements that I had on record. And lastly, there were 3 other items that are agenda items, but 2 are sanitary sewer overflows that were reported. One was on March 10th. at 45 to 47 Newtown Woods Road. And the other one was at 115 Camelot Lane. This is 115 Camelot Lane's a repeat location. Happened about 4 years ago. It was a rather significant SSO. Fortunately, this time it was caught relatively early and it was resolved. But there's ongoing investigation as to who caused or contributed to the blockage that led to the sanitary sewer overflow. I want to point out that both of those are dry weather overflows. They're not hydraulic capacity related. One had about 100 gallons of discharge of sewage to unnamed tributary to Hunter Run. That was at Newtown Woods Road. The Camelot Lane discharge was about 1,000 gallons to the same unnamed trib, the Hunter Run. And that one was kind of between the Springton Point Woods community and the Crassus Park. And 4 years ago, about when that initial SSO occurred, we did substantial investigation related to the Springton Point shops. Now appears that there may be some additional Sunrise Assisted Living may have contributed. And there may be some other contributing entities that are causing or contributing to that sanitary sewer overflow. So we'll continue with that investigation and report back to the authority. Both of those SSOs were reported to DEP in accordance with their requirements to report. 305 Echo Valley Lane, we met with that property owner. They have granted a sanitary sewer easement, which is a wetland restoration area. We previously voted to approve removal of 4 trees, actually topping them at about 20 to 25 feet high. That was done a number of years ago. They are unhappy with the aesthetics of it. They wanted to have the 4 trees completely removed. Coincidentally, they have a tree removal contractor out there, and they verbally conveyed to us today, me, Steve, Caitlin, we're all there, and talked to Mr. Flynn, who owns the company, said that he would take them down for $100 per tree. So $400 total, not an action item for the authority, but I think, Steve, we conveyed to the Sweeneys, who own the property at 305, that we would give them an inclination as to whether the authority would be favorable to reimburse should they incur that expense. My opinion is $400 cost is very reasonable. The timing works out that they've already had some tree work done and they have a contractor on site. So, and lastly, related to the Oak Hill Lane, item 12.1 on the agenda, we'll work with the authority to potentially submit for a small water and sewer grant to offset costs for restoration of sanitary sewer main that is exposed on near a property on Oak Hill Lane. And I'll explain a little more of that once the agenda item comes up. And that concludes my engineer's report for this evening.
Okay, that was a lot. So Westchester Pike, I mean, just to, what do we think will be the time frame at this point? We're gonna put out, you're gonna supplement the bid, I guess,
Yes. So
before the
we'll-
next
we'll-
meeting. Do we don't need to approve anything on that or
Nope.
whatever?
Nope,
Okay.
we're gonna issue an addendum, which just adds a few line items to the overall project. And we'll have the bid opening. We already pushed that date to the 21st.
How many bids were supplied based on before?
We haven't had any
We-
yet.
We don't have any bids back yet.
None, even based on the,
Well, because we changed the bid date to when it's due.
Yeah,
oh,
you wouldn't get any until it's
Got it.
on pen bid. So pen bid only allows, once they submit their bid,
yeah,
it kind of closes the door on them being able to do anything else in the system.
gotcha.
So contractors generally don't do that until right up to the deadline, which would be 2 o'clock, was 2 o'clock today. I think we have it at 2 o'clock on the 21st of April. So once they're all in, once 2 o'clock hits, the system prevents anybody else from submitting bids. All the bids that are in at 2 o'clock, it closes the door. It provides a summary of all the costs for each line item. And it actually indicates who's the low for each item, who's the lowest bidder for the entire, scope of the project. And we'll present that to the authority at the meeting on the 21st.
Perfect. Okay. I didn't have any other questions. Anybody else? Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, moving on. Anything else for operations?
So I just have a couple things. You have a KBX report
Yep.
in your packet. I would make note, we've met with KBX this month and had a good meeting with them to go over some of the things that are going on out there, which has kind of helped us trigger and move forward and get some other stuff done, which is good. I will make note that we are going through and just going to take a look at their contract when it's up again, make sure that we're staying on top of that and being prepared. KBX did respond to both overflows that I'm going to talk about. I'll go ahead and jump down and talk about that real quick. KBX did respond. They were very quick at the Newtown Woods. They were a little slower on the Camelot. So we had a conversation with their general manager about that, Caitlin and I, trying to understand, and he's supposed to be getting back to us as to what was the delays so that we understand that a little bit better. They were still out within several hours, but we wanted to know, we want to make sure that we're on top of these things when they happen, because it's very important to get the waterways blocked off so that we don't have continuing contamination and those kind of things. And so, and our team from the township was out there, jumped on it immediately. I think within 10 minutes of the time that we had the report, we were out on the scene, starting the process of figuring out how to at least slow down what we could slow down until KBX got there. KBX did bring their truck, but they had one man on the truck, and Harry immediately took over and got started and actually working with the gentleman on the truck was able to get it so that the flow was going through our system again. And I really do believe that's one of the reasons why the amount of overflow was limited because they were able to jump on that so quickly. And so that was positive. I walked, they walked it, but I also walked down the stream, saw the level of contamination and felt confident that we actually were able to contain that within the area that we thought that it was, and we were able to get on top of that pretty quickly and get on that. KBX was out the following 2 days, I think it was, and cleaned all of it up. We've yet to receive a bill on that, but I'm sure we will, soon, and we'll evaluate whether the value of what that was. I will make note that Caitlin's been working with Evoqua, and I've been working with Evoqua, trying to get them to work with the state contract with CoStars, because if they would do that, that would help the bidding process issue that we're working through. And so if they're able to do that, that might help as well where we are, so that we don't have to go through all that bidding process. And part of the challenge that we're working through is that the bioxide itself, it seems to be kind of a sole source. So that part we probably would be okay. It's some of the other stuff that they're providing. They still have said that they can't deliver to one of our pump stations.
Who's this can't deliver?
The Evoqua, the
Evoqua
bioxide, they
can't deliver.
can't
Okay.
deliver to our Newtown Hunt pump station.
Newtown Hunt,
And
right.
so we're looking at what the solution there may be and how we would do that. I think there are some solutions that I've actually asked them to do, but they've been so far telling me they're not able to, but they think that we can. And my comment is, if I can, I'm not sure why you can't. And particularly since they've told me that there are other places they have this problem, and it has to do with the size of the truck, the weight of the
Well,
truck.
are we under contract with them?
We had entered into a contract, but then they came back, and if you recall, they said the price that they had quoted us wasn't what they were going to do, and we were going to have to vote on that contract again. The problem is that the equipment that we installed is their equipment. The product that they provide, as far as I can tell, is a sole sourced product. However, I can't tell if it's sole sourced in that, and we're working through this. Can't tell if it's sole sourced in that they call it bioxide, and it's something else in a generic form. And so I'm trying to confirm, is it the same in both places? And so that's one thing. I mean, I've done some reading. It's just not very clear. And so I don't know how you're a sole source if you're, yeah, exactly. Is it Advil or ibuprofen, or is it, whatever, the name brand is versus the generic. And so I just want to verify that and that the system will work either way. And then that way we know how to go out to bid accordingly. But they pulled their bid and we have not submitted it before you again until we can get this issue addressed. Caitlin, did I miss anything that we were going to report on? Okay, thank you.
All right, is that it for
That's it.
operations? Okay, moving on then, 9.1, consider approving the 2024 bills on check register A dated March 31, 2025, totaling $3,997.38. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Walter.
Second.
Second from Steve. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I consider approving the 2025 bills on check register B dated March 31, 2025, totaling $51,377.03. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Motion from Walter. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second from Tom. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
10.1, consider approving final payment to AP Construction for installation of the old Masters Pump Station driveway in the amount of $11,500. I feel like I want to revise this already. Conditioned upon the contractor removing the soil erosion fencing and salt. Do I hear a motion?
So move.
How about I give you the second on that, Steve? Okay. Any questions or comments on that? If I have a question, I want to make sure that we don't make the payment. Payment is conditioned upon removal. Do we need to add anything else? Does somebody need to actually verify that, or is that sufficient?
We'll verify it beforehand.
I don't think that spell out in the motion.
I view that as Dave's and our responsibility to make sure that's done before we let the
Issue
check.
the final bid. Super. All right.
Trust
all
me,
those-
we drive by it enough. We'll check it.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Under new business 12.1, discussion and possible action for Oak Hill Lane.
Yeah, so during some work that was being done, it came to our attention that on Oak Hill Lane, we have a sewer line that has become exposed due to erosion in the area. Is it PVC? Is that the?
8-inch diameter PVC green sewer pipe,
And there's probably,
about 40 feet.
yeah,
exposed.
40 feet that's exposed. In addition to the 40 feet, there's actually a T-junction that's there. We've been out looking at it from the staff's point of view. Dave's been out and looked at it. It's pretty clear that there's some work that needs to be done. So what we're needing for you to do is give us the authority to engage the engineer to move forward, to start putting together a project that would be bid out, also doing hopefully a grant for small streams that we could help offset the cost of that project. Because the biggest challenge is how far off the road it is. It's down somebody's driveway. We may need to replace the line going down just to get it back to the right height. And so there's some issues with that. And so we need the engineer to go out and do, it's not as simple as us just going and covering it. If it was that simple, we'd get the backhoe out and we'd go take care of it with township staff. But there's and then in addition to that, there's a storm water issue problem that I think the township's going to need to address. And so I'm asking, we're going to try to do both projects at the same time so that we can, because we're going to have to, we don't want it, the stormwater problem, we don't want to have it undermine what we correct from the municipal authority side. And so we're
And,
working through
You know,
that.
this is something I want to kind of bring to Caitlin's attention too, like, you know, as the director of operations, I want her to make sure that what's the municipal's authority's responsibility is our responsibility, and what's the township's responsibility is the township's responsibility.
Sure.
So making sure that, you know, we keep those two separate.
Yes.
Okay. And do you need any voting action?
I think the
for us?
voting action would be just authorizing the staff and the engineer to take the steps necessary to move forward with this project, because it is an expense that you're going to incur with us getting the engineer involved. I just don't know how much until we get into it.
All right, so I'll make the motion to engage the engineer and I don't know who else we need to engage, but engage the engineer, as well as other services that might be necessary to pursue resolution of issues at Oak Hill Lane related to the exposure of sewer line. Do I hear him? Did I make the motion?
You
I
did.
think I made the motion. Okay, do I hear a second? I hear a second from Tim. Thank you, Tim. Any other questions or comments on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Requesting approval for staff to put out RFP for grease trap inspection.
Yeah, so we were working with KBX, trying to figure out whether they would be our inspector for the grease traps on an ongoing basis. And the challenge that we have is that they are the ones who actually do some of the grease trap. They go in and they do the removal of grease at some of these locations, and it's a pretty good business for them. And so they're not really wanting to give that up, and we understand that. So we would look for a third-party inspector to do that on an ongoing basis. So that's the request.
Okay, and so we make a motion to that
Yeah.
effect? Okay, so I'll make the motion to approve the municipal authority staff to put out an RFP for a dedicated grease trap inspector. Okay. Any questions or comments?
Second.
We already got the second, Steve, but thank you.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Any questions or comments? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, next, consider accepting the paving of the driveway at Ellis Preserve Pump Station.
Yeah, so at Ellis Preserve Pump Station, I believe that, gosh, it's been probably a couple of years ago now, you gave authority for the developer there, who was Equus, to use that driveway to access as a construction entrance when they were building the apartments and doing some of their earth moving for that project. And so at that time, one of the agreements was that they had to bring the driveway back up to the level it was before. And there were two things that they did, and they've done the driveway, they've resurfaced the driveway, and they fixed the fence that got damaged at that time. And so both of those have been fixed. I believe Dave's been out and saw that they were acceptable. And so that you're just accepting those so that I can release them of that responsibility.
Meaning accepting the work that was done?
Accepting the
paving?
work that they did, that it's back to the level that it was before they started using it.
And once we do that, then what? Like, obviously, they want us to accept the work that they've done in order to,
So that they would be released
Just
of
release them and they're
obligation.
okay, are they looking for any documentation to that effect or just, motion and minutes? of
If
the
you
meeting?
take the motion on your minutes, I think that takes care of it. I don't think there's any,
email.
yeah, and there'll be an email from me stating that the board had approved that at the meeting last night. Or
Or from Caitlin?
from Caitlin, but it'll be from one of us.
All right, so I'll make that motion that we accept the paving work and reparation to the fence as acceptable by the municipal authority for the area at Ellis Preserve Pump Station. I'll make that motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? No? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, any old business, any other members of the public here for additional public comment? So unless there's anything else for the good of the order, I will adjourn this meeting. All right.
Good job.